Hi all, Jim Oil from Tech Buzz Oil, and we're going today have another flashback looking at an old Nokia device, which is one of a few we received, boxed, untouched, and all in their glory. And today is the Nokia 1680 Classic, which offered a bit more than our last review of the 1800. And this has a built-in VGA camera, large 1.8 TFT color display, email, MMS, Nokia Express audio messaging, and it did have GPRS internet connectivity subject to service availability. But back then is when all this technology kicked off, and that's just the box there itself. And if you may remember it from then, so that's the box. So we'll just open the box and have a look inside. And here we have the device itself, and the same as our last unit, we have instructions built in on the cardboard inlay on how to remove the cover and insert the SIM. So there was no separate documentation leaflets for that, as we would kind of see today. So we also got our plug. Again, it had the smaller jack to charge the phone. We have our battery here, which seems to be a bit swollen, so it doesn't start the phone up until we find a replacement. We'll go through the menu as we did on the other one. This is 700 milliamps, which back then in the day was quite sufficient. Even though we had a colour screen on these, they still went forever. And of course we have our booklet. Again, something most of us ignore. Even though these did have a lot of detail in them, there was always stuff missing, particularly for sub-menus. But again, we could always get problems sorted with support forms, etc. So even though we still do ignore these today, so let's not deny that fact, we do it. And here is the phone itself. Here, it's a nice looking device with a nice keyboard and multi-directional pad on it here, which was a kind of a common feature, and especially with the N series phones later on, and it's quite nice, and the keyboard is quite cool as well. And up on top then we just have our earpiece with the Nokia logo, and on the back then we have our camera area there. As you can see, it's just a VGA camera, and we've this is like a little mirror here you can look into, but it would resemble a flash, but it's not. And then we have our Nokia logo embedded into the case, and then our speaker down here in the bottom, and to open we just simply pull down on it like so. On the right hand side then we have our ports, and one thing here is that featured on several Nokia devices in the old days was a little tiny USB port here, which people gave out shite about. These were for engineers testing purposes only, and people kind of gave out stink about it being there and not being able to be used. But these were for strictly for engineers to fix. As I said, there was a few of these phones that had this on them, not many, but there you have it. Nothing on the left. Down on the bottom again is nothing. We also have a lanyard strap here. We can use these are the lanyard eyelets. You could put a lanyard in if you had one, and they were kind of popular back then as well. And that's just basically it. Everything else is the same as regarding to its software and how the UI works on the device. It's like the other phone we covered, which will link. But this did have a bit more to offer as regards to connectivity to the outside world. It didn't just have SMS and text. We did have WAP and internet features on it. So it was a step up, if you will, from the other phone we looked at. And again, this is the time when all these things start kicking off, and these would have been considered a feature phone back then. This phone had, it was a 0.3 megapixel camera, and had 11 megabytes of storage, which wasn't quite a lot, you know, and there was no SD card expansions offered here either. And even voices back then, the allowance wasn't a lot either. So, you know, it's nice to have a look back and see how things have changed, especially since this device is brand new and untouched. We said we'll just do a few videos on some old classic phones from Nokia. So, any questions you can get me at Jimbo Ireland or techbuzzireland.com. If there's any old Nokia device you want us to feature on the site, give us a shout and we'll let you know. We have plenty of them here. Some have boxes, some don't, but we do have a very, very big, extensive collection to show, and some quite unique and rare devices in our possession here at TechBuzz. So stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching, and follow us on Twitter at Jimbo Ireland.